All right. We are live. We are live. So, family, greetings. With no further ado, we're going to get into the show. This is welcome to the Gullah Leone Show. Gullah Leone Show is brought to you through Gullah House Media. I am your host tonight, Chief Foday, General Ray, and I'm here with my cousin. I'm here with our Chief Elder, straight out of Orangeburg, South Carolina, Baba Rock, representing. So, how you feeling today, Baba?
Oh, I'm good, Chief. I'm good. Like you said, I'm here in Orangeburg. First thing I want to say to you is congratulations on your 4-year anniversary thing. That was pretty cool. I watched that the other night, the other
Thank
evening.
you.
That was cool.
Thank you. Yeah, man, it was deep, man. 4 years, it can go down the blink of an eye. And, we never really get the opportunity to sit down and tell the people what it's been like. So, it was good to really do that. It was hours long, but it was worth just getting it out there. We was just doing some work. We just came out of our training with the media team. So we're going to be getting into that. But let's get into the show. The purpose of the show tonight and our special guest of the show tonight is no other than Baba Daryl Orage. Baba Daryl Orage is he'll be coming live here at about a half hour. We'll be waiting on him. So until then, me and Baba Rock will keep you guys posted. Definitely keep you entertained, informed. But this brother who will be coming on, Baba Daryl, straight out of St. Helena, South Carolina, and really one of the founding elders, chief elders of Gonona. But he's been a activist in the struggle, particularly right there in the Low Country, for a very, very long time. And so we got nothing but maximum respect for the brother. He has a dynamic program that I hope that we have an opportunity to really talk to him about tonight. That he does with the youth, the Simba program. Man, I know a few years ago we talked about taking that rites of passage program and connecting it to rites of passage initiation here in Sierra Leone. So, it was a few years ago. We wasn't at this level yet, but we are now. So I'm looking forward to really seeing what he got to say about that, because we really have the opportunity to do something about it. But, welcome to Black History Month. This is the first show of Black History Month. And, it's great to be here with my cousin, Baba Rock, Chief Elder, Chairman of the Council. And also just to be able to bring to you someone live and direct from the Sea Islands, an elder, big brother, and an activist, someone who truly loves the community and is heavily engaged in farming, promoting the culture, and things like that. So, Baba Rock, how you feeling tonight, man? I know I asked you before, but I want to know about what's really going on out there in Orangeburg. Me and you've been doing some research, and maybe you can give us some updates.
Yeah. First thing I want to say is as you like you just said, I'm excited to meet the gentleman that's coming on this evening. It's good. It's good that I'm getting to meet this guy for the first time, and I'm excited to meet him. But like you said, I've been digging into the early colonial history of Orangeburg to see what was happening during what was going on in the 1700s, 1800s, and I found out quite a bit. I'm able to find plantations and different things like that. But Orangeburg right now, it's Black History Month, so we're getting ready for that. I see a lot of people doing different things online. I'm sure the colleges got something going on. There's probably, as a matter of fact, there is an event where we're having a food event at the library this weekend. I mean, this Friday. So there were people coming out to fellowship with each other and get that good Black culture in.
Yeah, that's great, brother. That's a great thing. I was just reading an article earlier about Orangeburg, and they was talking about the statue that's still in the middle of the city. And I was telling my wife just the other day, like, man, this is fascinating. Doing this genealogical studies with my elder cousin that's right there in Orangeburg, that's able to go to the elders, go to the site, go to the plantations, and really dig up that research. It's been great since me and you've been working together on that. just realizing that our ancestors, me and your ancestors, bro, were owned by the aristocrats. I mean, the leaders of the South Carolina secession, and and for hundreds of years. So, our families literally was passed down through families who were intermarrying and keeping all that power, land, and wealth in their hands. And to realize that that statue is still there. You know, they're still it's still protected by the United Daughters of the Confederacy,
Exactly.
and it's deeper than just what we want to see happen. Where do you see that struggle going in Orangeburg?
Well, right now, they just, like you said, they just had an article in the newspaper today. So it's going in front of the legislature and all that. And some people want to see it move, some people don't. They think that it should go somewhere like on a Confederate cemetery where whoever wants to admire that kind of thing, they can do that there. But it's hard to say whether it's going to get moved or not. I mean, I'm like 10 minutes
Yeah,
away from it. I drive past it every day, and it's been there since I've been a little guy coming back and forth from New York to Orangeburg, always seeing that statue. You know
oh
what it
yeah,
represents. We know what it
yeah,
represents, and it's time for it to go. I think it's time
yeah.
for.
Well, the struggle over the last few years, that as it relates to taking down Confederate flags and also Confederate statues from places of public places, federal places, and state places. Um, it has been a real struggle, and really, South Carolina has been at the heart of it. The struggle in Columbia, the struggle in Charleston after the massacre down there. So South Carolina, it seems to always have been in the heart of the struggle against the Confederacy in any generation you put it at. And I'm finding that our ancestors, I know that I can name three who fought in the Civil War, and it was only 190,000 African Americans who actually enlisted and fought, but there was 4.5 million of us. And then I'm learning about how many actually made Orangeburg home, how many actually settled down and married, took Orangeburg women, and made lineages, and that it's just dynamic to see that it doesn't seem as if Orangeburg people internalize that it's the same plantation owners that's controlling the county today, and
Exactly.
and and we're the same descendants of those who were enslaved to them. And but in Orangeburg, Orangeburg is a predominantly African town with a
It is.
Confederate statue right in the middle of it, and two black HBCUs. So it's a major contradiction. It says a lot about the local community's focus. I hope that we can change that moving into the future.
Yeah, you're right. It has been controversy here in South Carolina with the flag, but not only with just the statue, there's also the flag that I think I told you about. That's right. As soon as you come into town, the Confederate flag is flying. It's flying right there, and that's a big issue here. Also, it's been all in the paper. We got a young African American lawyer that he's on a front line battle for that, and I see that dissipating. It's
Yeah,
going.
it's going to take the community. It's going to take
Yeah,
the descendants themselves to correct this. I think that Orangeburg County, we always talk about it. Up until the boll weevil stumped out the cotton industry in the United States. Orangeburg was the second largest producer of cotton, and I remember my mother telling me that she used to pick cotton right there in Cope. I am-
yeah.
I grew up with uncles up north in Pennsylvania that was from Bamberg, Orangeburg, that grew up sharecropping, and I've seen documentation even with 10-year-olds being listed as sharecroppers, and so I understand what our people was fleeing to the north from. You know,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They were looking for better opportunities. They were looking. That's why they left from here. Your parents, my parents, they all went up north to looking to be able to take care of their families because it was rough down here.
yeah,
It was rough. I can remember
yeah,
things as a little boy. Just before, also remember also remember that we're going to be remembering Orangeburg Massacre
Oh
thing for
yeah,
this Black History Month. And so I can remember when that happened. I was just a little fella when that happened. And I still live right down from that same area. And every year people have not well, you want to call it a celebration, but they commemorate it. They don't want you to forget, and we shouldn't forget
yeah,
because
yeah.
three young men lost their lives that
Oh
night
yeah,
and all
oh
that.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you understand, like, at the point of the civil rights struggle where our student base, our students got active, our young people that was seeking to be, graduate from school one day and enter the United States workforce, and they was the ones who had the most to gain from end of segregation. Our young students who was really trying to get into the economy, and so when you see people like Stokely Carmichael or Sellers, who was down there in
or H. Rap
Orangeburg,
Brown.
or H. Rap Brown, when you see them brothers, not all of them were from down south, but they had a student collaboration from university to university where they broke the backs of the Second Confederacy. You understand? They broke that sharecropping. They ended segregation because even after the federal government made its laws, it took student activism, it took the churches, it took the communities, and I think that it's the same kind of thing that it's going to take for us to really like just finally move all of these vestiges of racism, white supremacy, and the enslavement of our ancestors from those public places where our children can walk past and look and see it every day. You know, I also say that, if they won't take them down, then we should erect our own. We need a Denmark Vesey statue. We need a Gullah Jack statue. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? We need, we also gotta, if they won't take the Confederate flag down, then I think we need to get some big red, black, and green flags too. And just do our thing. You know what I'm saying? Just make sure that they know that this is our territory too. And this has always been a thing with black men and women and white men and white women in American society is that we're always fighting over that space, that ability to take care of ourselves. And I don't think that's ever going to end, especially not where you can look at Orangeburg and it's just a microcosm of every county across the United States. I mean, in the urban areas, segregation might be more in the cities, but it's the same thing. Segregation is
but
segregation.
you see how quick that the white women were quick to come out to defend the removal of the statue here in
Mm-hmm.
Orangeburg. They came out quick. Just this
Mm-hmm.
morning,
Mm-hmm.
the United Daughters of the Confederacy say, oh no, we don't want the statue removed. And it doesn't mean hate. It doesn't mean this. It doesn't mean that. They want to, respect. They want us to respect or remember their heritage.
You know what? That adds me into another conversation now, because the Daughters of the Confederacy, right? The United Daughters of the Confederacy. You know that after the Civil War, the Confederacy had the United Daughters of the Confederacy, United Sons of the Confederacy, United Veterans of the Confederacy. These were the people that organized from behind the scenes these white citizen councils, this Ku Klux Klan. And so these were the ones that still came up with underground ways to undermine that black power that our ancestors have fought and organized themselves to take that land that we had purchased and put it back into their ancestors' hands, put it back into their people's hands. And so we got to understand, like, um, there's a lot that's still left undone. Like we still have to complete some of this struggle, and part of doing that is understanding who we're struggling against. And when you talk about the United Daughters of the Confederacy, many people don't know anything about that organization, but I know that they were created specifically to erect the statues all
And
across America of the Confederacy. They were the teachers. They were the teachers, so they was the one who taught the kids before they was 18 white supremacy in school and at home. And so they created the mind state of segregation that we're still struggling with. They're the ones who carried it on. And the men took on politics and professions and business, but the women really stayed back and kept that white supremacy real wet in the ears of their children and kept creating them. And we're talking about autocracies. just to give an explanation to our viewers out there, an aristocracy, just like in European terms, in American terms, are basically the nobles, the landowners, the big landowners. And in South Carolina, the South Carolina aristocracy was among the wealthiest in the world, not only just in the United States of America, but they was among the wealthiest group of landowners, property owners on the face of the earth.
Exactly.
And it was because of the exploitation of our ancestors in South Carolina for that rice, for that cotton, for that indigo, for that timber,
Right.
whatever it was that they could get us to forcefully perform labor and take from us. That's what they did. In Orangeburg, we have a lot of swamps, and so we have a lot of rivers. So you can see where rice probably was somewhere that they could do there. But when cotton came, it became Cotton County, and understanding that lets you know that there had to be property owners. There had to be large property owners who had political clout, who were doctors, who were politicians, and they owned our ancestors. So me and you've been doing some research on woodlands down in Bamberg that was owned by what's his brother name, William. This name. His name was
Sims.
William Gilmore
William
Sims.
Sims.
Yes, and then there was David Flavel Jameson. And we can talk about him for a second too. You know, David Flavel Jameson was the president of the South Carolina secession, and South Carolina was the first state to succeed from the Union, and that's what sparked the American Civil War or the Second Revolution. So this dude was president, and he owned our ancestors too. But go ahead, brother.
He was also one of the creators of the Citadel. You know why they created the Citadel to stop because they went crazy after Denmark Vesey did his thing. So they went and created big weapon storage in case just in case our ancestors were would revolt again, and they was getting ready. They was getting ready to wipe us out, but
Yeah,
yeah, but David Jameson, yeah, like you said, his family, all of these people were interrelated either through blood or marriage, and
yeah,
it was one it was a one family, all of them interrelated that was running everything. They all had
yeah.
massive, big pieces of land, like you said, and they were all it was a circle, and we was caught in the middle.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it seems like their plantations were neighboring. So if you ran from
Yeah,
one, you end up on the other. So it was kind of
exactly.
easy it was easy for them to police us. Now, just to back up on what you were saying about the Citadel, David Flavel Jameson was a founder of the Citadel,
That's
and
what I mean.
um, and then on top of that, this David Flavel Jameson guy, um, his father was a doctor. His father was actually the first one to move. But David Flavel, this is how aristocracies work. They work with lineage and bloodline. Some of these Europeans that came over to America came from royal and noble bloodlines in Europe. And so they started to create their little aristocracies in the diaspora as well. And so this man David Flavel Jameson, he actually married his first cousin and had
Yes, he did.
13 children to her. And these Jamisons were known to be sadistic. The father was a nasty doctor. They were raping the women. And most of these names, it's Jamison, Sims or Simmons, and Orr, and these names, you have white families and you have black families with the name. But in the black families, you have those who took the names of their owner, and you have those who descend from the mulattoes of those families. And so it's a dynamic situation that you got in Orangeburg, particularly because after the Civil War, after the war was over, there was something that they called the occupation. The occupation was that all of the soldiers were put on provost. They was put out to be an occupying army to protect the black community that was free now. So just imagine you got Union soldiers with arms and they're in the refugee camps protecting the people. That's the only security they got because the USCT stood ground. And so this brother, the father of black nationalism, you understand, what's his brother, Martin Delaney, he was assigned to Charleston, and he overseen all the provosts, the whole occupation. And guess where his office was at? In the Citadel. They they took the Citadel. Even the Union soldiers that stormed Charleston and claimed it for the Union back from the Confederates were all black USCTs. It was us. It
Right.
wasn't white soldiers. And then
Right.
what happened was they had to occupy Charleston now. As they're occupying Charleston, they took over the Citadel. That's where his office was at. You understand? So just to show you that they created something that was designed to destroy us eventually if we ever try to pull a Denmark Vesey. But at the end of the day, the father of black nationalism ended up holding his office in the Citadel. You understand? So that's just shout out to the ancestors right there. I know that also Orangeburg was burnt to the ground. Some of the
By
plantations
Sherman.
that our ancestors, some of the plantations our ancestors was on got burnt to the ground by us, by our ancestors.
Yeah.
And we emerged out of bush harbors and formed a bunch of family churches and started building extended family. It's a very powerful story that we got to share with our people once we ready to write the book. But just to fill the time up and talk, it's a great story, man. It's been a pleasure to really have your elderly guidance as a brother, but also as my big cousin, somebody I can talk to about family legacy. I can say, hey, cuz, what's up with these people or those people? And you like, man, we know them. That's different. That right there is the greatest resource to a young brother like me. So I salute you highly.
Yeah, it's been a journey. It's been a journey. I've dug into the history, so I know what these different families have done. I know how they are connected and interrelated. It's crazy. It was church people really who used the Bible to subjugate us here. They were Lutherans. They were Catholics, and they held us down here in Orangeburg. That's what they did. But like you said, getting back to Jameson, his plantation got burned to the ground. Woodland's plantation got burned to the ground. All of them got burned to the ground by you, like you said, USCT soldiers and Sherman, the General Sherman. He just ran wild all through here through Orangeburg, and
Yeah,
it trips me out when I'm riding around the county and actually in the area where all these different things took place, and I can feel the ancestors talking to me. I can feel, different things that go through my mind when I go by these
yeah,
places.
yeah, man. It's very powerful. It's so powerful because doing our genealogical research, man, it's just powerful knowing how many different lineages we connect with out there, and also the connection that Orangeburg has to the Low Country. A lot of people don't know, like we said before, it's been a debate for some people, but actually Orangeburg County used to be a district that spanned from the Savannah River all the way up to where? To what?
Um,
Where did it end?
well, getting to
From
that person,
Savannah?
what happened there was when the slave owners when the Germ when they were Swiss German people, when they landed in Charleston, what they did was bring the slaves up with them up to Orangeburg, up from the coast. See what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
that's how the different lineages got here. They were stopping in Dorchester County, Berkeley County, all these different counties on their way to Orangeburg. And Orangeburg was a lot bigger than what it is
yeah,
today.
yeah,
It stretched.
yes,
It stretched from
exactly,
Lexington all the way down to the Low Country, all the way down to
exactly,
places like Beaufort. And that's what you got to understand when you digging into the history. You can't just think about what we consider Orangeburg today. You got to go to the whole area, and that's when you start running into all different kind of breakdowns.
exactly, exactly. I think that's very powerful that you would say that because what that means is that in different centuries, at different times, what is considered Orangeburg would be different.
Oh yeah,
Originally Orangeburg was really like populated by indigenous people. And then I know they Indian killers went out there and went to work and seized that land, and they brought us with them, and that's literally how that first population got there. And then just to understand that Orangeburg has always had a very close relationship to the Low Country because even till this day, there's a whole region of Orangeburg County that is clearly in the Low Country,
Oh
and
yeah.
then there's a part that will you would consider the Midlands. There's another part that you would consider Central Savannah region, and so Orangeburg is probably the biggest county in South Carolina, in fact, and the most centrally located. So that's probably why it was ideal to have two HBCUs there because you could probably travel equal distance from every area and get there. It's the center of the state, which I think is very, very important. But um, back in those days, after the Civil War, the first thing happened was that they came out with a new state constitution. That state constitution turned them districts into counties, and it remapped the counties for political purposes. So people
Right.
who would have been, whose ancestors would have been enslaved in what was technically Orangeburg, would now become Bamberg, or would now
Right.
become, this
Cornwell.
Aiken, or now become Dorchester. So that's a very important thing too to understand is that these counties they got remapped, but the people remain the same. And understanding the exchange between the aristocracies, the large plantation owners and their families, and how they kept us in large numbers, and they kept us intermingling as family as well. A lot of us we knew who we were, and even though one person per plantation, you can't be on 10 plantations at one time. Our bloodlines were all throughout that region before there was an emancipation. And to understand that is like, how else would Africans from Charleston get to Orangeburg if they weren't taken there by the people who was enslaving Africans in Orangeburg?
Right.
And so it's important because we're always saying Geechee without borders. We respect, but we're not all the way in unity with the ideal of our identity and our culture being isolated to 30 miles away from the coast when we know different. We know that you can't do that. Not to
It's
our
the same.
family. It's the same
It's the
culture.
same. It's the same
Yeah,
culture. South
yeah.
Carolina is the same all over, man. People. Maybe they might talk a little bit different in the upstate, but around Orangeburg, it's Geechee talk.
Yeah,
That's
all
how
day.
y'all boy talk. And
Yeah.
this is where it is. Yeah, we from the. I consider Orangeburg part of the Low Country.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
it is.
I consider in a historical manner, and even today, it's Low Country to in my mind.
Oh yeah. And for me, geographically, I understand that the culture was centered and cultivated on those plantations along the coast and the Sea Islands. I can understand that. But to separate those people from the people that was also evolving the culture farther inland is something that I have a serious problem with because
Right.
I don't think our ancestors ever did that. They recognized us as belonging to the same culture. And I don't think they had that kind of distinction among themselves. Also, um, you know, when you understand that the U.S. Congress in 2006 created the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor, that it is like a invisible territory, it has borders. They tell you it's from here to here and here and here. And then inside of that is where the Gullah Geechee graveyards can get help, where the Gullah Geechee lands can get help, where, the real Gullah Geechees are authenticated at. But if you live 30, 35 miles outside of the corridor, I mean, outside of the coast, they'll say that you're not a Gullah Geechee. And so that's a federal thing. I think that it was stimulated by intellectuals who was trying to basically duplicate the Sherman map. But the reality, and I'm gonna close up and give you a chance to also chime in too, is that as a Gullah Geechee, I understand the history of trade in that region, and I know that from Columbia and Orangeburg down the Congaree River and down the Edisto River. That's how Charleston was getting things from the Midlands, and so I understand that there's something called a fall line, and the fall line is that natural barrier that goes from Boston all the way down to Georgia that separates the coast from where it starts to go high land. And so that's the area that boats can travel. So you can go from the coast all the way up to the fall line, but once you reach the fall line, you can't go any farther. And so that was the natural form of transportation, means and method of transportation in the early years of colonization. People got on boats and went up the rivers. It was faster and safer than having to fight some Indians to get there and stuff like that. So they was using the waterways. And so understanding that these cultures were tied by trade between the Europeans, and we were just items of trade to them, and we were in exchange between these Europeans, and they were growing something in Orangeburg but sending it down the Edisto River to Charleston, or growing something in Lexington and sending it down the Congaree down to Charleston, because Charleston was the number one port in the whole region. And so understanding that these aristocrats had to have somewhere to send what they grew, the crops that they produced. How did they get them there? Before roads, before trains, they used the rivers. And so I would argue that the Gullah Geechee cultural experience happened within the fall line, between the fall line and the coast, as opposed to just 30 miles up to where the water is fresh and to where it gets salty. It doesn't make sense because trade and travel was happening throughout a larger region. You understand?
Yeah.
So I would even argue for it to be reconsidered. That goes back to the fall line, because what about us, where we know that we're Gullah Geechees and our ancestors are outside of the corridor's boundaries, and they're buried in cemeteries that need the same makeover and the same protection as the cemeteries in St. Helena. And this is a very good conversation that we're having, about this, because
Yeah.
most people don't understand that there's people who are being disenfranchised and left out that have the same claim. And unless we physically exist within that territory, even the people in that territory are feisty about us even claiming the identity. It's a very, very crazy thing. But can you touch on that?
Well, you know what, Chief? Here's my point. Everything you said was right on point. But here's one undisputable fact why Orangeburg should be included. When Dr. Turner first heard Gullah Geechee, he heard it right here in Orangeburg, right up the street
Yeah,
from
man.
here, about 5, 10 minutes away from my house, right up here at South Carolina State College. For that simple fact alone, Gullah Geechee people been right here all the time.
That's
This
right.
is where he first heard the language. This is where he kicked it off at. This
That's right.
should be considered the home of Gullah Geechee studies, of Gullah studies.
Absolutely.
And so it should be included. It should be
Woo.
included. And not only that, you said before, when your president, when the president from Sierra Leone came here, first place he came to, here's the first stop. It's right
Orangeburg.
here in Orangeburg, South
That's right.
Carolina State.
That's right. That's right.
Undisputable right there. That's all need to
That's
be
right.
said in my mind. But everything you said was right on point. We used the rivers, those plantations and things we were talking about. Yeah, all of them in their rivers, or Goodland Swamp, Willow Swamp. That's what they named the plantations after. So it's all right here. This is Gullah Geechee territory.
That's right. It
It's
absolutely is,
always
man.
been.
I'm glad you touched on that, man, because it blew my mind, and I'm glad you piped right down on that right there, because how can you have a father of Gullah studies who first heard the language in South Carolina State University in Orangeburg, South Carolina, in
Heard it
in
here.
in the 1930s, almost 100 years ago, and tell us, the descendants, the people in Orangeburg, that didn't hear our grandmoms and our granddaddies talking Geechee? It just don't make sense. And then on top of that, you know, him being the father of Gullah studies is very significant, because before that, he was a linguist. Before that, people thought that we were speaking
Baby
broken
talk.
English. Yeah, baby talk, slave language. But he was a linguist, and he came down there and busted open and started going out and researching in Brazil and researching in the Caribbean. Even came to Sierra Leone researching language and seeing how all these different Atlantic Creoles connect, and then how Gullah Geechee compares within that. And what he found was that, Gullah Geechee people compare strongly with the Barbados, the people from Barbados, which is very true because South Carolina was founded by white people from
From
Barbados, and they brought their Africans with
that's
them.
the other island where the people were coming from. The slave owners were coming from Barbados.
Yes,
Right.
yes, and that's very important because Barbados was the first British colony in the Caribbean to evolve a complete economy off of slavery. Everybody else was doing different things, different trade, but Barbados was the first British colony in the Caribbean, not Jamaica, not Trinidad. They all was after that, and Barbados, the people there.
Barbados was the seasoning port too. That's where they
Oh
broke it
yeah,
in.
oh
That's where
yeah,
they
oh yeah. So you gotta imagine that if we have this Creole language, where did it start? Did it start in South Carolina, or did it evolve from the language that was being developed in Barbados? Because when we talk to Bajans, we can intertalk with them easily, just like the people in Freetown. And the reason is because the people from Barbados were brought by the Europeans and founded South Carolina. And then the revolution happened, and some of them Africans boogied back and founded Freetown. And so there is a historic and linguistic connection, and I would say a constant flow of language evolution that immediately relates to our culture, the way we eat, the way we pray, all that stuff, how we interact, how we greet each other. All that is culture,
exactly.
all of it. Here in Africa, as soon as you meet people, they want to teach you their greetings. And that's the first thing because greeting is so important. At least you can greet. Like in Mende, I can greet you in Mende. I can greet you in Mende. After that, I'm done. But if I see you, I can say Bua. You're gonna say Bise. You gonna say back to me Bise. I'm gonna
Okay.
say Kain. I'm gonna say Kain Goma. So that's me saying how are you? You saying how are you? And I'm saying I tell God thank you. I tell God thank you.
Cool.
So just that greeting right there, people will respect that. At least you're trying among their language. So it's a
Right.
very, very powerful thing. I want to try to see if we can get Baba on now, so we can get into the discussion with our our guest. But man, we having a great conversation, brother.
Yes.
And I hope that people out there is sharing this right now. Make sure you share it. This is Chief Foday, John Ray, along with my big cousin, Chief Elder Baba Rock, representing Orangeburg, South Carolina. I'm out here in Freetown, Sierra Leone. We are Geechees without borders. And, hopefully we're trying to get one of our associated members, one of our founding members out here. I got to try to hit him up real quick and see if he's coming on. But y'all just sit tight, sit tight. Sit tight. Hey, cuz,
Yes, sir.
um, say we got to get you back on. We got to get you on yourself. And
Oh,
yeah, we got to get you back on the Gullah Leone Show. And after the Gullah Leone Show, hopefully, man, we can get into some genealogy. People need to really learn how to research and stuff like that. I'm really hoping that that show can open that discussion. You know what I'm saying? Because I think we've done something that it's almost like a miracle, man. What we've been able to do between me, you, and Fatia, and
right.
that story really deserves a lot more attention and a lot more, visibility. We really got to be more vocal about it.
Right.
But there's so many people that are looking for their roots just so they know. And it's not even just so you know. I think that people have come to understand that a tree without roots, well, people without knowledge of their history is like a tree without roots. People really understand that even on the individual level. People who don't know where they come from right now feel like they need to find out where they come from right now. And I can respect that. I've been on it all. We come from an environment and a culture and a family that tell us who Uncle such and that, who Uncle such and such is, who great grandmama is. We come from that in house, but I took it for granted growing up. I thought everybody's parents and aunties and uncles was talking to them like that. But it's not true. Everybody doesn't have those traditions in their families, and so you know, taking it from the research, you know, digging up the records and you know, learning how to do that you know that research, and then you did something that many other people are doing to connect, which was you took an ancestry DNA test, and
Yeah,
you know, it connected you to me, to shared cousins, connected you to a lot of people that you already knew, and a lot of people you didn't know. And I'm
right.
just telling it fast because I really got a question for you at the end. I want people to understand the setup of the question. Um, you know, through that we were able to discover a living Mende cousin who took the DNA test and is currently alive, younger than both of us, living in Virginia, a
Yeah,
sister named Fatia. And
yeah,
from there, you know, Cuz told me about her, man. We did some old, some powerful research to make sure that we can connect with her from Freetown. We got a number, and within a day, we was on the phone with her from Freetown, and Cuz was calling her from Orangeburg, and we had the most beautiful reception from her because she took the test and she wanted to find family, and she didn't expect that the family she would find would be African American, and here we are. So it's a very powerful story. I know there's other people who've done it. I think Blair Underwood did that and went back to Cameroon and things like that. So there's really people connecting with lineage family. Okay, I think we got Baba here. Baba is here right now. Baba Daryl was here. Yeah. So I want to give you opportunity to say any last words before we get into this interview with Baba and bring on our guest.
Uh, well, like you said, yeah. I took the DNA test. I found Fatia. Me and her, we have developed a relationship. We talk kind of regular now. We talk at least once or twice a month. You know, I just spoke to her the other day. She's ready and willing to come back on. Very nice young lady. Like I said, when we found her, it was amazing, man. It was probably the greatest. Well, not one of the greatest things that ever happened because I never expected to find a living um, African.
Oh man, me neither, man. Me
That was
neither.
amazing.
Me
That was
neither, man.
beyond my wildest dream. You know, I wanted to
Yeah.
find one, and I didn't
Now,
expect it, but it happened, and we pretty cool now. You know, then like I
yeah.
said, me and you connected, and
Hmm.
you know how me and you get down. You know, we
Yeah, we
talk
on it.
on a daily basis. You know,
Yeah.
and
That.
yeah, it took me a while. I got lucky, man. It takes a lot of luck when you researching and doing genealogy, and I got lucky. I got it,
Yeah, man.
a lot of sweat and tears too. Now, not tears, but a lot of sweat and hard work. Cause
Oh yeah.
I was able to dig back to the 1700s so far. You know, mid 1700s, 1750. I can go back. You
That's
know,
very powerful,
with
man.
my father
And
on our side, with my father's side. But I could take my mother back to the early 1800s.
wow, that's so powerful, man. Um, you know, I've been working with you for a minute. We got Baba Daryl here. I appreciate just having the conversation before he come on. But I got to bring the brother on, man.
Yeah,
And just for those who are out there watching, again, this is the Gullah Leone Show. This show we pop it off every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Currently, myself and Baba Rock are sitting in for our dynamic co-hosts, my wife Kenya and our sister Lola. Hope they get better. Both of them are, you know, feeling a little down on themselves, and you know, the queens deserve to, you know, kick their feet up a little bit and let the warriors take care of business. So, um, you know, me and Big Cuz decided to just do that, stand in for the sisters,
last
and
minute thing, right?
yeah, I think it's gonna be beautiful. You know, it's ancestral because this brother who we're about to interview is a man's man. You understand? He's a lion. He's a Simba. He's a Lion King, and he's coming right out of Singapore. He ain't coming out of no other place. He ain't no far distant. You know, even me, I'm what they would call a come here, but him, this brother here, he's a been here, and
Man, yeah, I got you.
you know, he's always been about the struggle. always, you know, Million Man March, you know, youth programs, you know, very African-centered brother. We got a lot of love for him in Ganona. He's one of our founding members, and he serves permanently as a chief elder. We go to him when we need him, and even when we don't need him, our doors are always open to build with. So that's what this is about. We got this platform jumping. People are really enjoying the show. Don't forget to share, share, share. Hit that like, comment, you know, and let us know how you feel in the show. So with no further ado, I'm going to bring in Baba. All right, all right, all right, all right.
Greetings,
Baba
Chief.
on deck. How you doing, brother?
Doing good. Baba Rock, greetings.
How you doing, sir? Good to
Doing
meet
good.
you.
Doing good.
Yeah,
Thank
man.
you for inviting me, man. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. More
Oh
than welcome.
man, it was only a matter of time before we could get you on here, man. You know, um, you've been a quiet supporter from day one, and consistent with it. I think that just to give the people out there a little bit of background on our relationship. You know, I met you through Baba Jamu, and and I remember the first thing he told me was that, man, this brother went to the Million Man March, and I was like, okay, because I didn't get to go to the Million Man March at that time in my life. I was in a juvenile facility. I was away from my family, and it was something that a lot of kids who was in the system was encouraged to try to, you know, pay attention to. So I remember watching it on TV and wishing I was there. And
Right.
you know, just hearing that you and Baba Jamu were there, and you know, y'all old school, man. Y'all got that man spirit. You know what I'm saying? It's not toxic. It's alpha and it's progressive. And so I've always been very attracted to the energy you put out there, man. You do good work. I love that you do farming and that you focus on the youth. But in terms of this nation building that we've been doing, and just I think that at some times even we didn't know what we were doing in terms of the general organization. And I noticed that, you know, you're not with that. You know, when we know what you want to do, call me. You know, and I always appreciate that about you, man, because whether it's a group or not, you're gonna be doing what you do. You're gonna be living the culture. You're gonna be promoting the people, and you're gonna be bringing up a whole new generation of our kinfolk. So with that, I just really appreciate you to the platform. This is something that we created so that we can have these conversations for ourselves and let people out there know what we got going on in our respective areas. Um, so I want you to, before I go too far in, just introduce yourself. You know, to the people watching, who you are. Say anything you really want to say, man. This is your show. You understand? This platform is our platform. So, but I know people really want to know who you are and get an understanding of what your relationship is to Ganona and to the Gullah Geechee community.
Okay. First of all, I appreciate it. I really do. Can you guys hear me okay? Is my volume coming in okay?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Yeah. So, I was born here on St. Helena Island. My name is Daryl. And, I grew up in a community where there was a degree of cohesion among families. Every family had an extension where we could call on each other, the people down the street, the neighbors, next community over. We could call on each other, if there was a need. Everyone knew everyone else, frankly, and we lived in that kind of a lifestyle. Um, I grew up where we did fishing and farming. Actually did more fishing when I was growing up. My granddad was a commercial crabber, so we did more fishing than farming. We did some farming, but primarily farming was done, a limited basis in the springtime, summertime. But fishing was a year-round activity for us, where it's how we fed ourselves and also made a living. So the community had a lot of farming and fishing that we, again, experienced, and something that I got in my blood early on, something that I've done, something I still like doing.
That's wonderful, man. That's awesome. Especially down there on the Sea Islands, knowing
Yeah,
that you know, one of the cultural carryovers was that fishing technology, was that love for fishing. They brought a
yeah,
lot of our ancestors from the coastal regions because that's where they could grab us easiest.
yeah.
And so just to see that you know, a part of the culture that we retained is that fishing culture. Um, I have some questions here But first, I just wanted to ask you, um, what made you become a member of Ganona? And really, like, in terms of me and you know, we started as an ideal and a Facebook group, and
Yeah.
then we tried to give some leadership and been going through some things for some years, but we finally got this thing under control, and we finally have defined ourselves properly. But can you answer that for us?
Yeah, I mean, as a person growing up where I grew up, you know, again, as a Gullah person, and one of the things that I often tell people, I insist on always telling people that Gullah culture is African culture. So one of the things that we always do is to connect with other people. You know, if you're walking down the street, you acknowledge the person that you're walking past. If you're walking, you know, if you're driving down the road, you see another car. You know, back in the day, was any car you saw, you gave a hello. Today, we don't do that much anymore unless you recognize the person that you're passing. But part of the culture was to always make a connection with another person, known and unknown. So, you know, Brother Jamwe, as you said, Elder, he and I met in Orangeburg years ago, before the Man March, and we actually started building. We actually started building, would have meetings and have get-togethers where we're trying to build a community in Orangeburg. So we had the opportunity to travel together to the Million Man March, obviously, and you know the cohesion, the fellowship, the brotherhood that we experienced there was obviously a beautiful thing. And I say all that to say, you know, when we had the opportunity to build Ganona, it's an opportunity to connect. So I'm trying to make the connection between connecting, if you will, between a local brother, connection between our community, connection between ourselves, and our family back on the continent. So you know, if you have the opportunity to make that connection, you do it.
Yeah,
And that's been our effort.
absolutely, absolutely. Baba Rock, you got anything for Baba Daryl?
Well, yeah. Well, how do you feel about being? How did you know you were Gullah Geechee? How did you find out?
I mean, it's not a matter of having found out. I mean, for me, it's you know, as long as I've been told I've been Daryl, I've been told that you know we're Gullah people. I mean,
Right.
I'm not trying to be smart ass, but you know, it's just
I
something
know.
you've always been told.
No,
No,
I hear you. I hear you.
that it is what
That's
it
good.
is.
That's all
It
good.
is what
Yeah,
it is. Yeah,
I
man.
understand. I feel the same way. Like like yourself. I was born here in Orangeburg, but I grew up in the city. But
yes,
yeah, I
sir.
feel. My grandfather was a Gullah Geechee man. You know,
Yeah, you
he
know,
was.
and you know, you talk about growing up in the city, and I know there's there's always a question as to who's Gullah and who's not Gullah. You know, I grew up here. I traveled to the city a couple times, but I never spent any much time there at all. And I'm talking specifically in New York. And if you study history, there's a direct migration, or there was, you know, especially I don't know what the exact time periods were, but there's a direct migration from South Carolina, even St. Helena Island in particular, up to Harlem. And you
Yes.
know, I had an Aunt Tyra. I said I had an Aunt Tyra. My granddad was born in 1913. One of his aunts, you know, moved to Harlem at some point. I'm not sure exactly when she moved there, but you know, her house or her, you know, these are the stories that I'm told, that her house served as a landing point, or a landing point for
Yeah.
folks who would travel from here to there. So
Mm-hmm.
she obviously was Gullah. You
Yeah.
know, people born of her, you know, my uncles, as we call them, were also Gullah. I mean, and those people who were born of them, you know, if you will, if you know, are Gullah as well. So, you know, there's a question, there's an attempt to say Gullah is really restricted to a particular point. But you know, again, when she and those folks left here and went there, you know, they're Gullah as well.
You're exactly right. The same thing happened to me when I first left Orangeburg and got to New York. It was just like being in Orangeburg. Everybody was from down south.
Right, right,
Everybody was. It was like I never left. Everybody
right.
was
Oh
the
yeah.
same. Everybody was acting the same.
Yeah,
I had plenty of cousins already there. I mean, it was just the same for me. You know,
yeah,
Yeah.
I stepped right back. I stepped right into family. All my uncles and everybody was in New York already.
yeah,
They were looking for better opportunities,
yeah.
so they were already there.
And actually, I interviewed one of my, I want to say it was maybe 95, when I interviewed him about 2 years ago, uncles, cousin Joe, we call him Uncle. We interviewed him about his experience from moving here to there, and he talked about how continuous the culture had remained from here to there, at least when he moved there. And he, even when he left here, he went to Antares. I mean, he went there as well, or somebody like an Antara in a lot of
Yeah.
other people's cases.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The platform,
Yeah.
a safe place, a place where they could, get
Yeah,
a
my
meal if
aunt was
needed.
Aunt Julia May. That was
Okay,
Aunt Julia. That was what we called her. She was my mother's best friend, and her house. She raised me like I was one of her own sons.
there you go.
And so
Oh yeah.
and she was from Orangeburg, so that's who my mother went to. She left from Orangeburg straight to Orangeburg. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how
Sure.
it was in Brooklyn.
Exactly.
But
I
that
understand.
house was
Exactly.
that Aunt Julia May house was the gathering house. That's
Yeah,
what everybody
exactly.
went
That was
to.
on towers. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's dope. That's dope, man. Because both of y'all is like a generation above me, man. But I had the same similar kind of situation. I got elder siblings that was born down south in Orangeburg. That's like 15, 16, 17 years older than me. And it was the same way with us. I grew up in York, Pennsylvania, which is a very small town. It only has maybe about 15,000 Black Americans there. But I swear to you, you can go door to door to door to door. Everyone's related, and when you trace their roots, they came from the Great Migration. They went there for them jobs, and so and it's such a small town. Everybody knows each other. I remember my mom would take us down south 2, 3 times a year, and every time she would go, she would bring things back for everybody who wouldn't go. She would go see people's family members down in Orangeburg, stop in Florence on the way up I-95, and grab things and buy things and bring them up north that people
Sure.
just missed. Corn liquor, watermelons, peaches. You know what I'm saying?
for the
And so
trailways.
yeah, so I grew up in that culture too, but just like in a later generation. And
Sure.
I think my generation is really trying to fight for like we said, Geechee with our borders. It's unfortunate that there's been a long time of us being stigmatized and just the whole name and the culture, and we're really fighting for ourselves now. And so I really appreciate the elders being able to embrace the concept. My question to you now, Baba, is you spoke about, having the connection to the people on the continent. You know what I'm saying? What does that mean for you, especially in the sense of Sierra Leone in particular? I know the continent is a whole Africa, but we have a very special kindred relationship with Sierra Leone. And I know that from the day we met, I was already here. And I know that that's really what you was like, man, let's build at this level. So what's your take on that? Like how important is it for our people to give value to this
Yeah.
ancestral connection to the continent?
Yeah. And a lot of people have done a lot of studies showing that Sierra Leone, especially, and I don't know what the numbers are. And matter of fact, I think you may have done some studies or presentations as well. What percentage of the people that are here originated from Sierra Leone, example, as opposed to other parts of the continent.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's an obvious direct connection.
Yeah, well, what happens with Sierra Leone is that with the with the early era of colonialism in America, when they first was forming them colonies, the black population wasn't that big. It
Right.
wasn't that big. We were there, but we wasn't that large. And what happened is that, for South Carolina, once they got hold of that rice seed and they understood that these people, all we gotta do is just enslave them and they're gonna produce it. They already know how to do everything else,
Yeah.
you know. And so that was like a ready-made exploitation that happened. And so, by 1750, you had South Carolina and Georgia both had black majority populations, meaning that the majority of people that was speaking any language was us in those states, and for centuries. And so we had that linguistic dominance for centuries. We could do what we want with the language because we was dominant in population. And understanding that from 1750 to about 1774, and that's when America and British started fighting, and then they closed the ports. That period right there was the period where more Africans than any period of United States importing Africans than any other period came in that 24 years. And they say that 25% of the Africans that reached the port of Charleston and Savannah at that time came directly from Bunce Island. And then we can see that time frame also being related to the early black populations of Sapelo Island before Thomas started. You know, the early populations of areas like Riceboro and Darien and Georgetown and PD. So the blacks started to populate that area at the same time that 1 in 4 was from Sierra Leone. At the same time that 1 in 4 was from Sierra Leone, we started to populate. Now I'll give you an example. They say 25,000 Africans from Sierra Leone in 24 years. The plantations had between 150 to maybe 2,000 population. Now divide 25,000 up that many times and then scatter them among the plantations across the corridor, across the states. That's the impact of Sierra Leone on Gullah Geechee lineage and culture. You can't miss us because we all mixed in. We all mixed in by now, lineage-wise. Sierra Leone is very significant, but not just because of us coming from Sierra Leone. Almost half of the African American repatriates that founded Freetown came from South Carolina, Georgia, North Carolina. People like Edward Jones, the first president of Foday College, they used to call the Athens of West Africa, taught the first intellectuals in this college. So I can go on and on, but we have a two-way connection. Not only did Sierra Leone contribute significantly at the height of the slave trade, up to 1 in 4, but also shortly after that, in 1792, the founding group of Freetown came back, and our people was represented among them, at least 500. Even the founder, Thomas Peters, left from Wilmington, North Carolina. So it's a very powerful story. We got to understand the link. I thank you for asking that. Baba, you got the mic, Baba.
Well, I know. Well, you said you were a farmer. So, how long have you been farming, and how did you get into it?
You know, I've been farming, actively for the past 2 years. But prior to that, I've always had I shouldn't say always, but probably for the past dozen years, I lived in Charleston for many years, and I moved back here, I want to say 2015. But, in the years prior to that, I would spend my weekends here, forming a garden, or even in my backyard when I was in Charleston, doing something, trying to make a garden or something that I knew I'd like to do. I'd like to take a seed and see what the seed can actually produce.
Right.
And so over the past 2 years, especially, well, let me back up. And I noticed that when I first moved back home, 15, one of the things that I did, I bought me an old 1963 tractor. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm still operating.
I seen it.
Yeah, you've seen it. So,
Yeah.
And I think a lot of folks have actually, I'm really a modest person if you know me at all, but I think I've encouraged and inspired some other people to get into agriculture as well.
Oh yeah.
I was thinking about putting a little garden in the backyard this summer here because my grandfather was a farmer also. He worked on a peach orchard and he raised animals and he did the farming for a state college. So I was thinking about trying to try my hand at a little garden in this spring here myself.
With both hands in it.
And my wife was saying the same thing. My wife was like, let's get us a box and try to grow us some tomatoes or cucumbers or something.
Yeah.
We'll see what we can do.
We'll do it. Yeah. So, what I noticed is a lot of people were inspired and started doing the same thing. So I had the opportunity 2 years ago where I was pushed out of a job. I was working a regular job and I was really pushed out of the job essentially, a little over 2 years ago, which served me well in that it allowed me to move on to some things that I like doing more than what I was doing. And it also, gives me more autonomy. If I'm on the farm or doing on a tractor, you don't have somebody looking across your shoulder, or you don't have somebody calling you on your phone trying to, telling you what to do. So, so I've been fortunate in that regard. That's what I've done the past couple of years. And Baba talked about doing your garden thing. But I implore you to go ahead and go for that. Go with that.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. For
yeah.
sure.
I want to give it a shot just to see, because what it like what we're talking about. That's part of the heritage.
You'll be
And
surprised. You'll
yeah,
be out
we
there
keep
every day
informing
looking.
people.
You'll be out there every day looking to see what kind of growth you experience overnight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah. Um, so I'm glad you said that because it segues into what I want to say as well in terms of the emphasis on agricultural development. Our people used to know how to farm. All of us
Well,
knew how to plant. That knowledge is scarce right now. One of the things we're doing in Sierra Leone, even here in Africa, where people have all the land, on Earth, the skills, the engagement of farming is going down, and less people doing it. So I know we're doing the tools and seeds here. I wanted to ask you about, how the land is being used in terms of cultivation on St. Helena.
it's not being used in an idealistic manner, frankly.
Mm.
There's a lot of opportunities to do much better. Um, I've been fortunate enough to have a couple of elders who are mentoring me, you know, and there were things that I was doing prior to having these mentors. But the thing, if you saw some of my crop production last year, I mean, I'm really proud of what I was able to do last year. But
Hmm.
the point is, a lot of the land that we have here in Island it's not being used like it could be used in an agricultural manner. A lot of people have gotten away from it. But I think what happened, Chief, obviously you're a history buff, or you're really into your history.
Yeah.
There was a period where we came off of the quote unquote plantation where we were agricultural, and we were working for other people, and even after the plantation, and child enslavement, we were sharecroppers, a lot of us, and
Hmm.
a lot of us, even when we did sharecropping after the season, a lot of times you owe somebody else. You still
Yeah.
didn't make anything. So
yeah,
our experiences, historically on agriculture has not always been pretty. We went from enslavement to sharecropping. Neither one of those experiences were necessarily healthy for us,
exactly.
or it was welcome. So a lot of people just shied away from it, don't want nothing to do with it. So for generations, that same narrative has been passed down from generation to generation. Stay out of the field. You don't want nothing to do with that. So I think it's an effort now for a lot of us to get back into it. I think that's
Yeah.
actually happening on a broader scale. Not necessarily St. Helena in particular, but I think there's some of it, but not as much as I would like to see. In particular, something else that you may not be aware of, but this a position fell into my lap over the past couple of months. I'm actually the chairperson for the South Carolina Black Farmers Association, Black
Oh
Farmers
wow.
Coalition. Yeah, chairperson for South Carolina Black Farmers Coalition.
Wow.
And
Congratulations, man.
yeah, thank you. And like again, that fell into my lap. It's not something that I wanted. If somebody else will take the job right now, they can have the job. And that's why I was late for this for this. And I told Sister Kenya I would be late because I was finishing up something with that commitment there, if you will. So I'm
Yeah.
finishing up there. Um, so yeah, agriculture in a lot of circles is growing, but at the same time, in some places, in St. Helena in particular, a lot of people are still shy, still kind of shy about it. A lot of people are talking about it, but still kind of shy. I have a youth group, the Simba League. You mentioned Simbas. I
Yeah.
have a youth group, my Simba League, and that's one of the things that we do. We do a little farming, we do some camping, but agriculture in particular is something that I think you got to have for societies to survive. How will society survive without food? You don't want to keep depending on somebody else for your food.
Exactly. Exactly.
Hmm. Exactly. Food liberation, liberate the land. Here in Sierra Leone, every group has something where they connect the young boys to the land, and they teach them basically, how to be men in the society. And so, how you doing that there? Have you ever thought about trying to connect it to continental programs? Because here they have like boy groups where they do similar things and make sure that even men can make fires and cook and hunt. By the time they 12, 13, they have a different understanding of what it is to be a man. And I see that's really what Simba is. Simba is like a rites of passage. It exposes young kids to to their culture and to the land.
I would welcome such a connection with a group who can show us a different way or a better way. I would welcome that. But those are some of the same things that we have. We are teaching here. And, hunting, fishing, agriculture. Yeah, but definitely, if I can connect with a group, I would welcome it.
All right, that sounds good, man. We have some dynamic youth organizers here, man. We have hundreds of organizers here right now. Many of them are
Okay.
young. We also have been able to to get a certificate from the National Youth Commission, which is like the Ministry of Youth. So we work
Yeah,
directly with the Ministry of Youth, and that's something that we can talk about at another time. Definitely the
okay.
expansion of the program, or even something that deals with exchange. We can learn from each other at any rate.
Sure.
Baba.
Oh well, man, that sounds really cool. I know here in Orangeburg we had a couple of former state troopers that were taking these young guys out. They go camping and hunting, like you said. I did it when I was a kid, and I got some old boys now out in the country. They love to hunt and fish. That's they country boys. That's
Hmm.
what they do, man. Um,
Yeah.
in the summertime, man, we always firing up a grill or something around here. We eat up some wild meat in a minute. You know?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So, so Baba, um, just a reflection of life. We were just talking about our family and the lineages, and just like some of that history. But um, a lot of people out there have never had the opportunity to hear from a person who was literally raised up out there on St. Helena. Like, what was it like growing up with that kind of energy around you all the time? That kind of love, like you said, just that greetings. You can expect a greeting. You can just go in anybody's house and be treated with respect and things like that. Like, as a child, how much do you think that influenced what you do now with our young people?
It absolutely influences, impacts what I'm doing now. Yeah, because I see that there's a better way than what we're currently doing. I see that it's something that made me who I am, and why can I not sort of impart some of that same culture into some other people? If
Hmm.
we're given a gift, even if we don't realize it's a gift, we have to share that. It's not intended for me to keep it; it's intended for me to share.
Yeah, I say.
Oh, I'm myself. I'm big on sharing information with these young guys. I work in the library with computers all day long, and I always got a bunch of young men and women that I love to talk about this stuff, man, and share information with. I
Yeah,
believe in passing it on.
yeah.
And
But
like you said,
but
you can't keep it to yourself.
but the other part of it is, at some point, especially growing up, you don't necessarily recognize that you are part of a culture. You just growing up. So at some point along your growth, you recognize that was a specific kind of a culture apart from others that made me who I am, and it should be replicated, duplicated, and continued as much as possible. So it takes that effort.
Exactly. I mean, I was one of those young guys that always hung around the older cats to see, to see what was going on. They taught me, I
Yes,
learned
sir.
from them, and I learned from the older guys, man.
Baba John, will be safe out there on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, be safe, definitely. So, so I want to take the conversation into another area and talk about some of the things that we got going on right now, particularly within Ganona, and that is the Gullah Geechee Heritage Project. We've been waiting for Black History Month so that we could announce it and begin to plug it and talk about it a little bit. But it's a project whereas we plan to identify Gullah Geechee descendants, no matter where they are, and establish a heritage society. Whereas we operate through heritage ambassadors, like for instance, like like Baba said, when he went to New York, he met a whole community in New York that was Gullah Geechee. Well, it's not like that anymore. There's descendants there that don't know their descendants.
Right.
And so there's opportunity for us to begin to do that heritage work. We focus on history and culture, but me and Baba are deeply involved in genealogical studies as well, and just encouraging people to know more about their family background. Um, and so that's really where we're going with this heritage project. I know we've just had Sister Ajani from
John.
down there in St. Helena. Yeah, she was on here a few weeks ago,
Right.
and that's what she was talking about, basically, like, you know, in different ways that she can be involved in that. And I want to ask you, um, what can we do to assist with the, of course, the promotion, preservation, and protection of our culture out there, other than what is being done that can really, get more done, particularly there in St. Helena. I believe that St. Helena is a gem. St. Helena is a sacred place for us all, because of its enormous history and just the great contributions of the people from that place. And you and your family and people who've been there for hundreds of years holding it down for the culture. Um, you know, what can those of us who are not there do to assist on the ground with preserving that cultural heritage and promoting that to the broader community?
One of the things that I think we don't do enough of sometimes is to define what the culture actually is. And I have a complaint in that too often when we talk about Gullah or Geechee culture, Gullah, and I actually make a distinction to some extent. When we talk about Gullah Geechee culture, we sort of relegate it to language, wherein
Mhm.
it's much more than language. It's what you do in all aspects of life. I mean, in all
Well
areas of
said.
life, your culture exists. So when we talk about the ways in which we treat an elder, that's a part of your culture. The way in which we, bury our dead, that's a part of your culture. The way in which we have spiritual or religious ceremonies, culture. The way in which we eat, culture. All those, the way in which we greet each other, all that's part of culture. So we have to define and intentionally define culture. We have to intentionally
Mhm.
define culture, what it is, and remind people this is what culture is, and this is what makes you a part of the Gullah Geechee culture. And
Oh yeah.
therefore, you can probably, in my mind, better connect with somebody when you can show them
Oh
this is
yeah.
what you're doing. This, what you're doing right now is actually a part of your Gullah Geechee culture.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate that. Um, Baba, you have anything? You have any more questions you want to ask? Uh,
Uh, um, how do you how do you get these young fellas involved with what you're doing with getting involved with the farming and everything? That's how
I
how you get them out? How you get them to come see the teacher?
Now, here's the interesting thing. I've had people ask me that before. Where'd you find the young men?
Yeah,
And I didn't have to find the young men in that. I grew up in a community called Land's End here on the island. And when I first came back home, for several months, I stayed with my mom. Actually, I left Charleston, to stay with my mom. And when I would come home from work, I'd park my truck, and these young men would come up to the truck, wanting some help with one thing or another. And all of them call me uncle, but and that's nothing with Gullah culture. I mean,
yeah,
uncle doesn't mean that your sister or brothers, But anyway, so they would call me uncle. Uncle Daryl, can you help me build a chicken coop? Uncle Daryl, can you help me, whatever it was. There was always,
mhm.
I say always, but several days, very often. Do you have any paint? Do you have, just something that they wanted or needed? They saw me
right.
as a resource early on. And
Yeah.
yeah, so and prior to that, I mean, what I didn't say earlier, when I lived in Charleston, I was actually a Boy Scout leader, actually a Boy Scout leader. So the transition from Charleston, to here, being a Boy Scout leader already, it made it easy for me to work with youth. I mean, they saw something in me, obviously, and they called on me, and hey, I had to fill that role. I had to do what I could do.
Yeah.
Do you have any bait? for, to go shrimping or fishing. Do you have any tackle? I mean, they knew that I had these resources, or they hoped that I did, or realized that I did, and they called on me. So it made it easy.
I get the same thing. Well, seems like we're experiencing the same kind of thing, because I get the same thing here a lot also. Sharing wisdom with the young guys. They come to me with all these technical questions about their computers and everything.
Right.
Everybody always want me to fix a computer for them, or show them how to fix a computer or something.
But now I ask them to fix my computer. That's flipping for me.
But I've been messing with computers, laptops a long time. So
okay,
they come to me for that. Yeah,
that's dope. It's dope.
Chief,
yeah, brother.
So agriculturally, make sure you let me know what projects are ongoing, and I'll have more of a capacity in the coming months to be of greater assistance.
Okay.
With those projects, so make sure you make me aware of what projects are ongoing and what the needs actually are.
Okay, I sure will. I was having a conversation earlier today with some brothers who was, trying to get involved with the same kind of thing, just trying to expand this farming ideal. Last year this last harvest, we was able to farm 120 acres in just one location, and now we want to expand to 2 other locations. One of them is the village of Sinihun Angola, the village of Bendu Jabati from the language Ukrainian. We've been building with her family recently. Every time she comes to Freetown, she comes sit down with us, we talk. And we really want to do something to uplift that legacy as well. But her family, the village doesn't have a farm. And so we want to carry our program down there. But what we found out from the last harvest is that we need machinery. Everybody's willing to farm, but when I say everybody, I mean everybody. The old woman, everybody, the pregnant woman. And we want to be able to use machines, man, and put some of them at a different position so they're not out there working all crazy in the fields just to produce the farm. I'm not against it, but I think that there's so many young people that's unemployed that they can take over learning how to use machines in the farming process. We do plan to extend the Tools and Seeds program to the United States. Baba here, he has some family land that is still in his possession that he inherited, and he was thinking about how to get some of the young bucks down there to even start a garden, grow some watermelons or something. And it's really just about that.
I hear the question being asked all the time: does anyone have any land that they would allow to be used for agriculture? So I mean, it's something that if you would willing to consider, I'm sure I can put you in contact with some young folks who would be willing to work it, and
that sounds good. That sounds like a plan. I can talk to it's like some land that actually me and my uncle own it together.
Yeah,
but it's sitting there. We're not really doing much with it right now.
Yeah,
it's inherited land that's been handed down through the generations, and I got one cousin that's sitting out there, a Jameson chief, one of our Jameson cousins. He's sitting out there. He got him a double wide out there, but and the rest of the land is really just it's not being put to use.
Yeah, yeah. So it's dope. It's dope because I think that what I've seen here with agriculture is that it unifies people, and it's something that nobody really can oppose. You learn things by engaging in agriculture that you can't learn from a book, and that's what I learned by engaging in it myself. You learn things about nature and how things go. You can plant 100 seeds, and they all ain't gonna grow. If you don't get enough rain, you're gonna see it at harvest time. And so it's like being a farmer is like being a human. Farming is so humane that it's so interconnected to the human cycle of development as well. I would like to see that crossover into a youth experience. When I was young, my mother always had a garden in the backyard. My mother used to rent people's backyards, asked to use people's backyards in the city so she could plant in their backyard and break them off of some of the collard greens, break them off of some of you know, the spearmint tea. She went nowhere without playing spearmint tea. And so, you know, just knowing that my generation now, we don't know how to plant nothing in York, Pennsylvania. But it would be nice. It would be nice. It would be dope to be able to have these programs that take our children from the cities out to our traditional lands, and you know, put them in contact with the culture and put them in contact with agriculture. There is no culture without agriculture.
There you go.
Exactly, exactly. Senghor just said it as I said it. You see how great minds think. There is no culture without agriculture, especially when you talk about Gullah Geechee culture. When we engage in agriculture, I believe that we have the capacity to tap into some ancestral knowledge, bro, because there's things I didn't learn about managing farms that just comes natural to me. I'm like, how do I know this? You know? And it's an easy exchange program. There's knowledge that we have out there that's needed here. There's knowledge here that's needed out there. And really, the economy going the way it's going, COVID and all these other things, prices going up everywhere. We need to be more self-reliant. We need to be more self-determined, especially about our food, and like Baba was saying, how we control our own labor. You know, you had a job, but you lost it, but you gained control over your labor, and now you're doing something that's benefiting not just you and the youth around you, but future generations. That is the victory over supremacy that I'm seeking, and you know, I applaud you on that. I'm so happy to be able to talk to you live like this, you know, and to get your knowledge and make it where it's available to other people. Um, I have a question for Baba Roderick as well. Um, Baba Roderick is about to start the Orangeburg Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Project out there. You know, this month we're going to be commemorating the Orangeburg Massacre and highlighting that, you know, Orangeburg is the site. It's the location where Lorenzo Doe Turner first heard the language. And if he didn't hear it and he didn't investigate it, I don't know what we would be doing right now at this moment. And so it was so significant. And so I think Orangeburg's significance gets wiped out of it. But a lot of deep studies have been done out of South Carolina State University. So many thousands of Gullah Geechee people have attended South Carolina State University. And so there is an intimate relationship between Orangeburg and the Low Country in general that most people don't really talk about or highlight, but we do because we're the Orangeburg people. We know the connection. And so as you step out to do this, I was going to ask you, in which ways do you think that we can connect with Baba down in St. Helena and try to like make sure that the message is reaching there, that we have some kind of copacetic relationship with the heritage. I know we're talking about doing the farming, but with the education, because that's what we focus on: research, education, getting it out there to the people. And like I said, St. Helena is like the capital. St. Helena is the capital of all of us because of its significance. But we also see Orangeburg as the birthplace of studies, and also the place where the international connection was first sealed with the president going there first when he went to South Carolina and meeting the people at the university first before going down to your land, St. Helena. It's very powerful that we have these connections. South Carolina State University, Penn Center, history, heritage, and now we're here all together trying to figure out what to do. So, but in which ways do you think that the elders, particularly like yourself, and let's use Baba Daryl as well, can play a role in this heritage project? How can we exchange information and research together and make it one?
Um, you know, we about to push the video out that we did. Remember the little short video that I made up there in front of State College. That's one of the things we can pump that out on online or do social media and everything, and make a few more videos. Like I say, I talk to the. Oh, I see. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, the t-shirts. That's cool. Yeah, yeah. Put t-shirts out there. Like I say, make the videos and really pump it, get it, push it out. And if he wants to contact me, he reach me anytime. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, I
Matter,
want y'all to know. I want y'all
matter
to
of
know
fact,
I want y'all to really know and internalize that the youth that are organized around this, we got y'all back. We want to be able to work under y'all. We want to be able to help push the elders' initiatives. We believe in your guidance. We know that you know the way. And so the thing is that there's no such thing as Gullah Geechee culture where the elders aren't at the top and the elders don't lead the way. And so we just really want to restore that tradition with this whole movement. And that's why I'm saying that. So just like you're saying, documentaries, flyers, assisting with things like this, establishing platforms where y'all can come and talk and address the people. We're ready. We're ready to put our resources, our knowledge, and our energy behind elevating our elders that really need to be seen by the world at this time, as we fight for our culture and also for our rights as a people to self-determination. It's not even about fighting for rights. We need it, or we will perish. You know. So y'all have the full support of we the young people within the movement. And that's why I asked the question. I want to know how we can fix something between the two and make it go.
I don't have an absolute answer, Chief, but I'll say this. One of the things that I know is necessary is for elders to be elders. I think that's something that's been
good
lost.
point.
I
That's
see
that's
more of
excellent.
that disappearing every day, and you know, a lot of people my age and older are just afraid to be in any kind of position where they have any responsibility.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
agree.
that's an excellent point. As for me myself, since I get to see a lot of young folk every day that come into the library, and I'm not scared to talk to them. I talk to them no matter what. Matter of fact, I love schooling them. I love to tell them, pull your pants up before you
You
talk to
got
me.
to, you got to.
You know, I do that. I spend a lot of, well, not a lot of my time, but I do that several times during the day when they come in to see me. So I'm not afraid to talk to these young boys, and you can be. But then again, like I say, I grew up in the city, and I bring my city ways back down to Orangeburg. I take my Orangeburg ways up to the city. I can talk up there. I can talk down here. It don't make me no difference.
Yeah, exchange. Yeah, yeah. Um, what you said about the elders is very, very important. We always talk about people being older, but not necessarily playing the role of elders. And from day one, Baba, um, we reached out to former elders. We wanted the elders involved. Nona wanted to make sure that the elders is on deck to get the process. To even just say, yeah, this is a good process. And that's also very important to me is that we don't operate outside of the guidance of true elders. Elders who really working with the youth, elders who really got credibility behind them and things like that is very, very important. But I think that institution is something that we want to be able to work on this year within Ganona is reviving this elders council. For us, we have a 7-member elders council. And we would really like it to be more active. Elders play a big role in mediating conflicts within as well as between. Elders play a big role in providing the knowledge, the wisdom of the nation to the young people, so that we're armed with that as we move out. And it's just so much more that the elders have a role to play. But I feel as though the young people have a role to play too.
Right.
And the main role that we have to play is to make sure that our elders are visible and vocal and strongly backed, strongly supported in terms of what direction we need to go in. Not the young people don't always know, you know what I'm saying? But we ready to get there. We can get us there. And so I just it's really like that. I really appreciate that. I would like to get both of y'all out here to Sierra Leone, man. To tell you the truth, there's no place in Africa like Sierra Leone, and we really got it going on out here, man. When it comes to yeah, man. Hey, when it comes to Gullah Geechees and having reached out to Sierra Leone, like Gullah Geechees have a long history with Sierra Leone, but in the modern era, in the 21st century, there has been no organized body that has done more tangible work than what we've done collectively as a community to advance this relationship building, this rebuilding, this what we call redemption. And So to come out here is really to come out here to family. We've been doing a lot of educating, a lot of sensitizing. People here know who we are when they meet us now. And this is a beautiful thing. The elders have been coming through. We have a couple who've been here, man, but it'd be great to get y'all here too. We got to figure out how best we can do that organizationally and make it practical for us. But man, it'd be great to get y'all out here, man. We need y'all out here to explain to people who we are. You know what I'm saying? Represent. And that's not just alone, it's Liberia too. You understand? We have two countries side by side where we have a very strong legacy with. If you know about Liberia, you know that we had a Liberia exodus. There was a exodus from South Carolina directly to Liberia back after the Tilden Hayes Agreement, when the Union pulled out, when the federal government pulled its troops out of the South, the black people in Charleston came together and formed their own Liberia stock ship exchange and pulled their money and boogied back to Liberia. And one of the descendants ended up being Tolbert, who was the most Pan-African president in Liberian history, right from South Carolina. So there's history over here that we ain't really biting down on too close, but we are literally the contemporary modern representatives of our ancestors, and this work has to be done, and we've already bridged the gap. So I would really love to get you guys over here one day, get you reconnected to the roots. I know I gotta make sure I take Baba Rock over to Kinema because we've been able to find and connect with an exact living blood relative in our family through DNA. And we found a village, two villages actually, two chiefdoms that the mother and the father is from, and they're ready and willing to embrace us as family from across the sea, and we can build. So definitely, I know we got to go to Kinema, but it's Jamaica that I can't wait to take y'all to, man. It's such a beautiful thing. Everything, all the support that y'all been giving, whether it's financial or moral support. Moral support goes a long way, man. Just knowing that what we're doing is supported morally, you know, by people, it really drives us into being able to sustain ourselves beyond finances. So I appreciate that always, and that's one of the roles of the elders, man. So time is of essence. I wanna give the opportunity to close us out in terms of if you have any last sayings, anything you want to say last, and you know how can people get in contact with you? Is there anything that you want to call the attention to the audience and everyone else who will watch this video? Um, any causes down there that we need to be aware of? Do we need to sign any petitions right now? What's going on? You know, how are people dealing with COVID? Like, is there anything that we can do to back you up out there in St. Helena as a community that our people out there can benefit from through your service as an elder?
You know, you mentioned COVID. And the only thing I would tell people about COVID is to be as healthy as you can. Period. You know, generally just be as healthy as you can.
Mm-hmm.
Because my personal assessment is that the people who are being affected most are people who have pre-existing conditions. So be healthy, remain healthy as much as you possibly can. As far as any petitions or any other efforts that are occurring right now, nothing comes to mind right now, honestly. But
Okay.
Chief, let me ask you, tell me, how can we get one of these shirts?
Oh yeah, for sure, man. These are Sierra Leone Gullah Redemption Mission shirts. You can get these shirts. Hold on, I'm gonna put it right here so you can go right to the website. But we have our online shop. I believe they're about $30. I'm not sure how much they cost. I have to ask Kenya. I really don't deal with the fundraising aspect of it, but these are fundraising T-shirts. These are solidarity T-shirts. We also have other shirts. We feed ourselves. You know, highlighting the Gullah Wars, the time frame. We have different kinds of shirts. We have a Ganona shirt. We have a Basani shirt, and these are just for those who want to support us and also get something as well in return, something they can wear and show some extra support. So you can always go to www.gullahleone.org. If you go there, you can go to almost anywhere that we have anything going on. You can reach our Gullah House Media from there. You can sign our petition for Gullah Geechee citizenship in Sierra Leone there. Um, you can see our videos. You can see a lot of things there. But you also can purchase some merchandise. And even while I'm saying, I also want to say to the Gullah Geechees out there that we want to be able to use this site to help people sell their things as well as a marketplace. So if anyone out there has ideals, whereas we might sell shea butter, you might do this, you might do that. Any way that we can economize this space, we're an organization, but we organize for the interest of us all. I don't want anyone to feel like they can't necessarily also be involved in the marketing and things, but all of the proceeds from from these shirts that we put out, go directly into our development project fund and is used in pursuit of our objectives. So, yeah, they're fundraisers, but people love these shirts, man. You walk around Freetown, you see them everywhere right now, man. They're all over the place.
Very good.
hmm And we say Gullah Leone, just to piggyback on that. Gullah Leone is basically that is Gullah Geechee and Sierra Leone connection. And to say Gullah Geechee Sierra Leone is too long, so we just shorten it. Use the first word from Gullah Geechee and the last word from Leone, from Sierra Leone. Came up with Gullah Leone. It's actually a good term to define what kind of unity we're building, and that's why we named this broader unity of organizations and individuals the Gullah Leone Union, which we call glue, and it's supposed to do exactly that: bring us together and hold us together like glue. And so I guess that's pretty much it. I want to give Baba Rock one last pass of the mic. Anything you got going on out there you want people to contact with you with?
I'm good right now. I'm just ready to go ahead on and get the do whatever we're going to do with the Gullah Geechee project. Put the video out and just go ahead on with things we've been talking about, the things that we would like to advance.
Bob, I might make a road trip real soon just to come check you out. Okay.
Oh, that's fine. Hey, I did see your name weeks ago. Something I had posted, and I think you must have liked it. So, and I was like, who is this guy? He's following me on Instagram and everything. Then I saw you connected with Chief here. So I kind of knew a little bit about you before we had this chance to talk. But yeah, you can reach me down there in Orangeburg. I work at the county library, man. I'm not hard to find.
Very good.
Yeah.
So you're welcome to come on down.
Yeah. It's just like you said, he works at the library. So man, we've been doing research, man. Baba, we've been doing research. We really want to be able to help families reconnect to their legacy, to their heritage, and I think it'd be great for y'all to hook up, man. Definitely.
Yeah, that would be nice.
I'll make it happen.
All right.
All right.
I look forward to that.
All right. So, with no further ado, I think that this has been a great show. Baba Daryl, I really appreciate you for coming on. We got to get you back on for sure. Man, you got to have your own program here on Gullah House Media, man. We really got to have a show just for the youth, just for the youngins. A place where they can go and get some mediation, get some wise thoughts. Some of us, we was knuckleheads too. We've been through the struggle. We know what an idle brain can lead to. And, that's another service that we can bring together. This platform belongs to us. This is just one show that we do. So, it's definitely something that I think we can cook up in the future, something to engage the young people together. It'll be real dope. With that, I think I want to say thanks to all of our viewers, the people out there in the audience, and anyone who will ever watch this. Just know that it's all about many roots, one fambo. We come from various different places, but we make up one community of Africans. Yes, no matter the distinction, we are Africans. And we're going to continue to move. So shout out to the whole Gullah Geechee community, the whole family out there in the Low Country, St. Helena and abroad, up there in the so-called Midlands, half Low Country, Orangeburg. We there with y'all too. And just, Geechees Without Borders, we're going to keep it going. Thank y'all very, very much for another edition of the Gullah Leone Show. Peace out, fam.
Thank you to Sister Kenya for the invitation, brother. Chief, thank you. Baba Rock, thank you.
Thank you also.
Absolutely.
Good
It's
talking
been
to you.
great. Thank y'all.